بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد. فنبدأ اليوم بإذن الله تعالى شرح القاعدة الثالثة ألا وهي الصيام من كتاب الإعلام بحدود وقواعد الإسلام. Okay, we've reached the third pillar, which we'll begin to explain as Qadi Iyad has stated, that it is siyam, fasting, okay, which linguistically means abstinence, imsak, refraining from something. So, نعم.
القاعدة الثالثة وهي الصيام. شرح القاعدة الثالثة وهي الصيام وهو على 6 أقسام: واجب وسنة ومستحب والنافلة ومكروه ومحرم.
So these are the 6 categories or the 6 types of siyam that there are. And it's mentioned from wajib, sunnah, mustahab, nafila. Now the thing is, ومكروه ومحرم. Now really there is what he'll kind of clarify and expand upon this distinction, because in essence there is a huge overlap between some of these in saying things like the terms nafila, something is nafal, it is mustahab, and whether that falls, even the mustahab, whether that falls into sunnah at times or not. Now,
فالواجب منه 10: صيام رمضان، صيام كل نذر أوجبه الإنسان على نفسه، وصيام قضاء رمضان، وقضاء النذر الواجب قضاؤه، وصيام كفارة الظهار، وصيام كفارة القتل، وصيام كفارة اليمين بالله عز وجل، وصيام كفارة السيد الحرم أو المحرم
نعم
سيد الحرم أو المحرم، والصوم عن التمتع، والصوم كفارة إماتة الأعضاء في الحج. So should that be حرم?
Yeah, shukran, now. Right, so okay, these things, فالواجب منه 10, 10 things. صيام رمضان، صيام كل نذر أوجبه الإنسان على نفسه. That صيام النذر is the siyam of it's like saying where somebody under a vow, they take a vow to fast for the sake of Allah, or in some cases they do it as a condition, which you shouldn't do really. But if you take it just as a vow, that look, I vow to do this, just like that, then it does become obligatory that you fulfill that vow. Right, نعم. وقضاء وصيام قضاء رمضان, of making up for Ramadan, making up for another, which was obligatory. So if you, I don't know, you began it but you broke it or something, for example, you make it up. وصيام كفارة الظهار, the kafara of dhihar, the fasting that is obligatory. Likewise the kafara of murder, or I suppose, you could say manslaughter as well. وصيام كفارة اليمين بالله, if a person has taken an oath and now is trying to make amends for that, a regular oath, that is, but with the name of Allah. وصيام كفارة سيد الحرم أو المحرم. Hurum, once again, is like an unorthodox plural for the term muhrim. Okay, so muhrim is a person who's gone to Hajj in a state of ihram, and hurum, wa antum hurum, right, as we are told, and hurum is the plural of that. People who are in a state of ihram are not allowed to do hunting. Okay, and if they do, then part of that kafara, you have fasting as part of that. So okay, وَالصَّوْمُ عَنِ التَّمَتُّعِ, and tamattu' is where a person is combining between Hajj and Umrah, but the way they're combining, there's different methods, and we'll go through that when we're in Hajj anyway, but there's methods of Qiran and Ifrad, and the method of tamattu', where basically you get to do Umrah but then come out of Ihram, and then you get to redo your ihram later on for Hajj, and that is known as tamattu', which is like an enjoyment. So you basically get a break. So you're there, you get to chill, you don't have to stay in a state of ihram. And for that, as part of the kafara, you give a you fast, okay, as part of the in order to do that as part of the dispensation, okay. وصوم كفارة إماطة الأذى في الحج, and likewise if you purposely you chose to do something which, I don't know, like let's say this is perhaps specifically referring to shaving off the hair, although it could technically refer to other things as well. But like Allah mentions in the Quran, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ بِهِ أَذًى مِنْ رَأْسِهِ فَفِدْيَةٌ مِنْ صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ, that a person who has, you know, they're suffering and therefore they want to shave their head, or because when you're in a state of ihram you're not allowed to even really be combing your hair and doing stuff like this, so a person wants to just shave it, and you know, or they're ill and therefore they want to kind of like they want to kind of maybe compromise certain things which you're allowed to compromise, and as a result of that it mentions that for fidyatun, that the fidya is min siyamin aw sadaqa aw nusuk. So basically there's certain things which you do to make amends, and from that is fasting as well, and we'll look at that when we reach Hajj. Wal masnoon.
والمسنون صوم يوم عاشوراء وهو آشر المحرم وقيل التاسع.
Naam. So and the sunan, he just mentioned the day of Ashura, which is the 10th of Muharram. Ashura coming from the word ashar, ashara, 10. But some have actually argued it's the 9th Ashura is, and that they had a thing which sounds quite strange, because why would the 10th thing be referring to the 9th? And they say, well, that's because there was this custom where the Arabs did that, and they refer to, and then some people have said it's both, that there's a hadith that إذا كان العام المقبل إن شاء الله صمنا التاسع والعاشر, as the hadith in Sahih Muslim states, that you combine between both. But there is this thing, and there's certain transmissions, I believe, from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu and other people, where they would refer to certain dates with almost the numbers before them, and it was like a weird type of thing from some angle, I suppose. But I'm just saying there is that khilaf. Na'am. Wal mustahabbat ashara, and you can see once again he's going with the 10 10 10 thing. نعم. والمستحبات.
المستحبات عشرة: صيام أشهر الحرم، وصيام شعبان، وعشر الأول من ذي الحجة، ويوم عرفة، وثلاثة من كل شهر، والأشهر الأول من المحرم، ويوم الخميس، ويوم الاثنين، ويوم الجمعة إذا وصل بصيام يوم قبله أو بعده للحديث وارد في ذلك، وستة من شوال إذا صيامت لما ورد فيها من الفضل لا لتجعل السنة.
نعم. شكرا. So, and the recommended 10, Siyamu Ashhar al-Hurum, the months of Hajj, okay, or of Ihram, which can be 4, was Siyamu Sha'ban, and obviously Sha'ban, wal Ashr al-Awwal min Dhil Hijjah, the first 10 days of Yawm al-Hijjah. And you know, when they say that al-Ashr al-Awwal, they don't actually include the 10th day. Right, I'm pausing because I'm just because you see, I don't know. وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, exactly, but not the 10 days. You know, the Ashr al-Awwal, it is when you're looking at nights like that, yes. Because the thing is, the 10th day is Eid, and you're not allowed to fast on the day of Eid. So because for a while I tried to look this up. I remember at one point I was really trying to reconcile between why do they always mention it as al-Ashr al-Awwal, which indicates, and it seems that you're right, because in the verse وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ is referring to the nights, and the nights can be 10 because the first night is going to be from the month before, isn't it? It's not going to be from. So the thing is, But the actual day, and then the nights, obviously you're not fasting anyway, but it's just speaking about them being blessed, that's all. But the point is that when you're going to fast the actual days, the 10th day will be Eid. And people just seem to refer to them all as the first 10 days of the Hijjah. And they say, Al-Ashr al-Awwal, but you can't really do the 10th day. And I'm just saying that this is something which unless there is another interpretation for something like that. Over the years tried to look, and that was what I came across, that they said, min bab al-taghlib, they've just mentioned it like as a, it's big. It's just they're going with the general understanding, general assumption that, they're just rounding it up basically like that. Okay. Na'am. Wa yawm Arafah, and 3 days from every month. And notice he didn't say the moon, the full moon days, what they call the ayyam al-bid, when the full moon is kind of lit. Yeah, because they actually makruh. But 3 days in a month, and remember they don't have to be consecutive, but just the thing of 3. Wal ashar, and that you see. There's a hadith by Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu that amrana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an nasuma min ash-shahri thalathat al-ayyam. Now that one does mention the bid, the 13, 14, 15 قال وهي كالصوم الدهر, and that is in Nasa'i and Ibn Hibban. But generally in the school of Medina, they actually consider those to be makruh, and they didn't consider that hadith to be sahih or to be the sunnah. If it is proven sahih, that wasn't what the practice in Medina was upon. They don't fast those days, the moonlit nights, if you like. Right, okay, so the thing is, it's actually makruh. But 3 days in a month is good. But what is interesting though is that, because you get some ahadith that also speak about, which have been critiqued as well, about hijama being done in those days, and you get certain things about the fast. But what is interesting, although the school of Malik doesn't recognize the fasting thing, but on a separate note, what you do those days when there is a full moon, right, the impact it has on people, this lunacy thing, it's not actually so crazy, it's actually got statistical grounds to it. Like there's actually been, because obviously they say that the pull it has on water and fluids and on blood, that how people's internal type of the blood pressure and stuff like this. I'm not sure to what extent it makes it very different, but it has some impact. What they've also done is sociological studies, linking them into antisocial and criminal behavior on these dates within a month, and found that there is actually a positive correlation, that between the nights of the full moon there is a higher antisocial behavior rate, and there's more arrests within police stations. There's more, and I've actually watched a documentary on it where they've not a Muslim. Sorry.
Men and women both, or more so with
I
women.
generally they were just showing. They were showing it generally men in the documentary. The police were, most of them that they were arresting were younger people. They were saying that, look, obviously you can't prove, but they were saying, but it is something which we see that on these type of nights when there is a full moon, there does tend to be, like they said we tend to have like a full house. We have we run off our feet in a way trying to arrest people and stuff like this, where it's not like that on other dates of the month. Now, they weren't doing that from an Islamic perspective, obviously. They were just showing that. But it's interesting bringing that in. And this whole concept of lunacy, the whole, which comes from the word moon. Yeah, to be a lunatic does come from the word moon, and what people believe that it had an impact. And it obviously, and you're saying with the bleeding thing, obviously the other impact that it could have with women. But that's where people had tied it in with the whole, to do the hijama, to be careful if they were kind of drawing blood from somebody whilst this is going on. I don't know, maybe It's an area for expansive study. نعم. So والعشر الأول okay واليوم والعشر الأول من المحرم. Okay, the first 10 days from Muharram. Right now, and that's because there is a hadith in Sahih Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, when he was asked, أي الصيام أفضل بعد رمضان, after Ramadan, which is the best of us, he said, شهر الذي تدعونه المحرم. He said, the month which you guys call Muharram. It's interesting as well. Right, so, on a separate note, that is interesting as well, that seeing the universal kind of, I don't know if you could say intersubjective arrival at certain things, like saying 12 months in a year, that 7 days in a week. Like, this is interesting, that why people have arrived at these. Why 12? Why not a different number? It's not, because in some way you could argue it's arbitrary. I'm just saying, you could argue that people say that certain people used to do things in sevens and so on, and there's this theory of weeks, and there have been certain societies that have split the weeks in tens. Yeah, because of but the months, they hadn't, as far as I'm aware, have generally always been 12. Not come across. Allahu Alam, not that I've.
Isn't that because they usually use the lunar cycle, and the annual cycle is the seasonal change, isn't it? So the new sun starts and the 22nd December.
Yeah, but it's interesting. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very, you see, it's not like how people would base things. To some extent, could be arbitrary. They could choose to kind of like fluctuate. They could choose to base things on different, but they generally do recognize them as 12 months. That is, I'm just saying. To me, that's something I found very interesting. نعم. Right. أين نحن? Right. يوم الخميس, يوم الاثنين, Thursday, Monday, having that fast. يوم الجمعة. إذا وصل بصيام يوم قبله, if you fast the day before it or after it, للحديث الوارد في ذلك, because of the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, which is in Sahihain, إن يوم الجمعة عيد لكم وعيدكم فلا تصوموا إلا أن تصوموا قبله وبعده, رواه البزار وأصله في الصحيحين. Now the thing is that this hadith does mention that the Prophet ﷺ don't single out the day of Jum'ah for fasting. However, what Qadi Iyad didn't mention here is that the school of Medina generally recognized that it is permissible to just fast on Fridays, because Imam Malik, when commenting on that, said, this is what I found, he says, the understanding of our city to be upon, and the practice of the ulama of this balad, of the balad al-Medina, to be upon that they would fast just on Fridays. So it is permissible. Then Qadi Iyad says, وَسِتٌّ مِّن شَوَّالٍ إِذَا صِيمَتْ لِمَا وَرَدَ فِيهَا مِنَ الْفَضْلِ لَا لِتُجْعَلْ سُنَّةً. There's an interesting thing really that he's kind of bringing in there. He's saying, and the 6 days of Shawwal, not if you think they're sunnah, because the 6 of Shawwal are generally actually considered makruh in the Maliki madhab, right, to fast 6 days of Shawwal. But it's a bit of at times it's seen as a bit of an excuse to say, alright, well, then go on then, won't do it since it's makruh. Not like they were going to get done anyway.
He does do it with the intention that it's makruh, so he doesn't.
Alright, so now he's saying that if a person fasted the 6 days with the objective to attain the reward that has been mentioned in some hadith, not with a belief that it is sunnah, and then it's okay, then it's recommended. Naam.
ونوافله كل صوم كان بغير وقت أو سبب في غير الأيام المستحق صومها والممنوع فيها الصوم.
Okay. نعم. So كل صوم كان بغير وقت أو سبب. That every fast that was not, it doesn't come, it's not stipulated. It's not like there isn't a set time for it, there isn't a set cause for it, like nadar and a vow or a kafara, or it's not ashura, or it's not this, or it's not that. There's no nothing been kind of prescribed for it. في غير أيام المستحق صومها, in other than the days when you need to be fasting or it's recommended to be fasting, أو والممنوع فيها الصوم, or those days in which you're prohibited from fasting. If you choose to fast in any of those other days, it is nafal, rewardable, good. Okay. نعم. والمكروه خمسة.
المكروه خمسة: صوم الدهر، صوم يوم الجمعة خصوصا، صوم يوم السبت خصوصا، صوم يوم عرفة للحج، وصوم آخر يوم من شعبان للاحتياط.
نعم. صوم الدهر, right, is interesting because once again, actually, generally in the Maliki school, they do actually allow it as well if a person wanted to do it. They call it usually sardus siyam, right, to kind of just bring along the fast one after the other. Now, in the hadith, there is a hadith, la sama man sama al-abad, which is in Sahih Muslim. There is another hadith as well. The Prophet ﷺ says that don't just keep fasting. The best of the fasts is like that of my brother Dawood alayhi salam, that he would fast one day and do iftar one day, meaning he wouldn't continuously. Now they said to the Prophet ﷺ, but you fast every day. Now this was perhaps the understanding in Medina, that they took the action of the Prophet ﷺ to be the legislating element, and they recognized the prohibition perhaps to just be more to do with health, because the Prophet ﷺ then says to them that, yeah, but he says, but I'm not like you, lastu kamithlikum, I'm not like you, that yasqini rabbi wa yut'imuni, that my Lord feeds me and nourishes me. So that is a Sahih hadith. Now this, see, based on this, generally within the school of Medina, it is permissible, although it's not recommended, like to just do that because of more health reasons than religious reasons. Okay. نعم. And وصوم يوم الجمعة خصوصا, obviously now he's going with the makruh, the opposite category. So singling out Jum'ah just like that, although we did say it is permissible as well according to many, but according to Qadi Iyad is going with the popular view of the other madhabs as well, like in line with what the universal view is, that it's discouraged. وصوم يوم عرفة للحج. Yeah, you see, there is this debate that the last, Yom Arafah for the Hajj person. Where is that? Sorry, I haven't got that here. Okay, does it say it there? Does it? Okay, if he does say it, then obviously that would make sense, because you're trying to, or it's resembling the Sabbath of the Jews. But I haven't actually got that in this text. But what he does say is وَصَوْمِ يَوْمِ عَرَفَةِ الْحَجِّ, and they mention that what is better, for the person to be standing at Arafah in a state of fast or not. And the Maliki generally say in the Mashhur that it's better for him not to fast, so he doesn't get distracted, and it's more important that he does dua, because it is a place of dua. And if you're obviously, because you're going to be standing in Arafah, most likely there's going to be some sun, since it's Saudi Arabia, so you're going to be like, bloody hell, I need to get out of this sun. I'm so thirsty. God damn. You're like all over the place. You're like, this. But so.
He's just demonstrating that he's not being on Hajj.
Right. So clearly not. Right. So rather than you thinking about things like that, and especially historically, you gotta remember as well, now there's more facilities and people have, but then you're probably just thinking, oh, I can't wait till I drink some water, oh God. And you see, that type of thing, it's better not to be doing them and kind of like maybe cursing them in a way, as opposed to, it's better not to be doing them than to be doing them and cursing them. Do you understand? قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ, as Allah says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى. That the thing is that it is better than a sadaqah that you give. It's better to say a kind word. Like if somebody came and asked for some money or asked for something, and I say, like kindly, like, oh, I'm sorry, or I haven't got this, excuse me for this, or whatever. It's better to be kind, or some assistance. If somebody came and asked for some help and I say, look, I'm sorry, I'm doing this, I can't do that. It's better to do that than for me to say, no, let me do this. But then I go, oh, this guy, what a bloody, this and this, turns up asking me about this, and here I am having to now help this person. Now you see, you hurting this person or spreading these type of things, it's better قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى. So rather than that type of sadaqah you leave, so rather than that type of an ibadah, you'd rather just concentrate on dua. You've got your Lucozade or your water to kind of like replete your energy and just concentrate on the dua, okay? Or your brain, the branch chain amino acids to quickly get the strength back into you, and that's it. Anyway, I remember the story, but I also remember this is recording, so let's continue with this. Naam, and the last day of Sha'ban. This isn't like the last day of Sha'ban's life, that it's that we realize Sha'ban's about to go, so we think, should we all fast on this day? And it says it's makruh, you should be celebrating. That could be one interpretation taken from this. And then it says lil ihtiyat, just in case it isn't. Right, but that's not the correct. That would be like the revisited interpretation. Since, and then we just find out Shaban's only asleep. Right, so the thing is, this is more speaking about the month Sha'ban and saying, well, if you're trying to do the last day, trying to be super cautious and trying to say, you know what, just in case it's Ramadan, you never know. Is it the 30th of Sha'ban? Is it the 1st of Ramadan? I can't tell. The sky is cloudy, this. Let me, since I'm so pious, let me be like, ahead of the game and just fast anyway. Right. This is why I've said it's not any of the authoritative type of recognized school. No, so the thing is that the view is that the hadith says that you shouldn't la tasumu yawm ash-shak. So, as we in the school of Medina are taught that we stop where the sunnah stops. Allahu Akbar. And the sunnah teaches us that no, you don't fast the yawm of shak, the day of shak, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. And that you worship Allah with sincerity. Where would the sincerity come if it's simply built upon doubt? Allahu Akbar. Bola subhanallah. Right, so the thing is that, you see, if you're saying to yourself that, look, I'm going to fast Ramadan, but I'm not even sure if it's Ramadan, but I'm going to fast. No, that's not mukhlis. That's not it might be Ramadan, it might not be Ramadan. No. You do things upon yaqeen, upon certainty. None of this wishy-washy type of business. Everything should be like, the intention should be well fortified. The whole action should be clear. Okay, so Yawm Shak, absolutely no. And yes, it is, and that's the predominant view amongst the madhabs really, the Hanafiya, the Shafi'iyya, most of the madhabs really. It is a Hanbali view to say it is permissible. But like I said,
is it permissible to do it different to a particular party that you don't like?
What do you mean by that? Like the Labour Party?
Yeah. Them guys did it on this day, so we have to be different and we're going to do it on this day.
Well, obviously.
Some people do. Not saying no names.
Right. No, the thing is that you can't. Obviously, that's nonsensical. You can't fast. You can't turn Ramadan into a joke. But at the same time,
someone thinks that, you know,
Then they've got to be wrong. If they're fasting tomorrow, they've got to be wrong.
Yeah.
so like, as an example, like the Saudis, we know they fast the last day of Sha'ban because
Yeah.
the evenings from Ramadan.
I mean, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I repeat, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia is notorious for that, right? So for them, their inaccuracies in determining the first day of Ramadan. So I mean, I would say that stuff like that, they need to. This is a new qawl that seems to have been brought about in this ummah. This phenomenon is very new. It's a new opinion. Ramadan begins with the announcement of Saudi Arabia. All of a sudden, this centralized authority that they've assumed to dictate seasonal and geographical type of events, just because obviously Mecca and Medina are there, but that doesn't mean the kingdom of Saudi Arabia as a kingdom now has that authority to kind of like say, oh, we would dictate when, just because. And the interesting thing is, from a geographical location, never any, and you know, even in the actual peninsula, there's many other countries there, like whether you're going to look at things like Qatar, Bahrain, so on. All these countries fall part of that peninsula, isn't it? Yemen to the south. If you go a bit further north, Jordan, this, that. If you go a bit further east, you're going to get the other countries, west, Egypt, so on. And what's surprising is no country whatsoever gets to see the moon. I mean, you'd think, come on, if they could see one neighboring country, especially when it's such an event in the Muslim world that everybody's looking out for it. You got millions of people looking out for the moon, and you're telling me only 3 Bedouins see it. It's like, this is such a question mark that, and the response that some of the Saudi ulama give, that Allah is all powerful to show it to these 3 if He likes. Well, obviously Allah is all powerful. I mean, Allah, if He chooses, He could obviously open His wisdom and knowledge upon you as well. I mean, Allah is all powerful, He's all knowledgeable. But the thing is, that's not how Allah works in His, Allah does not, لَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You won't find that the sunnah of Allah changes just for one person. He's not going to say, I know, Allah will change the law of nature and physics just so these 2 Bedouins could have Eid, one day earlier. It doesn't work like that.
I read a strange article where they say, what do you give more precedence, science or, the witness?
It doesn't work like that. That's a fallacy to present it like that, you see, because when you present it like that, you're putting the deen, and this is a very, almost a Christian phenomenon, or the what the church went through between trying to see almost religion separate to science, or in contradiction to. In Islam, it's never been like that. And if we had the historic or the classics here today, we'd be lucky if they didn't slap us over this, because I mean, at the very least they'd laugh their heads off. We'd see some very serious characters burst into laughter over this, because the matter isn't, there's never been contradiction in science and Islam. What we are saying is we are looking at all things. You see, science, the observatory will teach us that, okay, the moon can be sighted from this day on, like the new moon has been born or will be born at this time on this horizon in this part of the world. Okay, now it will say that it can be seen after a certain given time. Like the new moon, when a new moon is born, it cannot be seen by the naked eye. Certain hours must elapse before it can become visible to the human eye. Now, we know that. So we know that the new moon will be hovering, let's say, or visible to this part of the world at this time. Do we declare Eid based on that, or Ramadan? No. We wait now for some actual witnessing testimonies to corroborate or to fall in place, which will trigger the month or will trigger the event we're waiting for. That isn't a problem. And this tends to happen all the time. I mean, people will do that. Or we complete 30, the way it works. The problem is when that sighting will tell us, like calculations will tell us, okay, this is impossible now. They will say, this is impossible that that the moon can be seen.
What's been happening in the past couple of years?
Yeah. And then 2 or 3 people will say, but I saw it. Now this is a problem because their testimony will be inadmissible in a court of law. Right? Because it's like saying, you see, because what you're going against is, apart from it just being calculation, you are saying on a day when millions, literally millions, are looking out for the moon, and you have had calculations telling you that it is impossible from a calculation perspective that the moon could be seen at this time. Yet 2 people would say, I saw it. Even the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa and those people historically, although in a similar way, not this exact thing, they said that Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, and many of the early Malikiyah from the Baghdadiyin, Sahnun, all these people had said that, wait a minute, if the sky is totally clear, as it is in many parts of the world, like in the Middle East, if the sky is totally clear, and yet only 2 people say they saw the moon, and you had thousands and hundreds of thousands looking out for it, they said, we don't accept their testimony. It's inadmissible, because how can it be that if you're saying 1 million people are looking and only 2 saw it? He says, in fact, the wording that they use is jammun ghafir, that a multiple transmission must take place if multiple people were looking. And I mean, like, people today we have people in the millions looking. Then you have on top of that scientific and mathematics. It's not just about science, mathematics telling you that look, it can't happen. And then, even then, okay, if you want to put it up against science, let's have 1,000 people. 1,000 people isn't much when an entire population or entire part of the world is looking out for something. 1,000 people are nothing. If 1,000 people saw it, okay, fair enough, we have to now revisit the mathematics. But no, the mathematics is saying this. Nobody is seeing this in anywhere, and usually only in a particular region in Saudi Arabia, year in, year out, they successfully see the moon. By two or three people manage to see it. Seriously, would love to see their vision tested, right? Because, and it causes so much fitna, because what you have then is the entire world saying, everybody saying, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, following Saudi, and this is how they all declare in their Ramadan Eid. And this has got nothing to do with the debate of a universal sighting versus a global sighting, because both of those are valid. A universal versus a regional or local. Both of those opinions are valid. This is a third opinion saying following Saudi, not universal. Because remember, if Malaysia saw the moon, let's say they're farther east, if Malaysia, why is it nobody east nor west sees the moon first? It's always Saudi. I mean, let's say if Malaysia saw the moon, right? Okay, fair enough. Like if let's say 1 year, this country sees it first. 1 year, that country sees it first. Come on, it's possible, yeah? 1 year, this country sees it first. 1 year, Saudi sees it first. Fair enough. I mean, why is it always is, it's only Saudi Arabia.
They're going to claim to see it the day that they have to see their own.
Negation, you use scientific facts to negate,
yeah,
but not to affirm.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're saying. This is why I said, look, the scientific thing only tells you the possibility. Then once you have the possibility, we don't declare Ramadan or Eid, we wait for some sighting. And some sighting will take place, as it does. And then people will say, either I'll follow the global, look, it's been seen now, this person has said he's seen it, this non-Bedouin from Saudi has said he's seen it from this part of the world, right? Okay, now we can...
Even on that day, it is sighted in like South America.
No, it's not. Until much... Huh? Right, that's not the case. Even the sighting that they that they presented, that they said first of all that it could be visible in Chile, that they said last time, or in some of those islands. It wasn't Polynesian islands or wherever it was, that it wasn't sighted, and in fact by midnight they had stated that the people of that hadn't actually seen it. So this, I'm just saying that just because we're saying that, in one corner of the world that maybe it could be seen from that angle, doesn't mean you announce it. You wait for somebody to see it. And you don't do this retrospectively, that, now later on we announced it and 5 hours later somebody said, I saw it. No, because we should play it by the book. That they see it, then we announce it. What happened last time, where Saudi announced it and then 7 hours later they were discussing whether has anybody now in the Polynesian islands seen it, so maybe we could corroborate this statement and say, okay, it's okay now because somebody's seen it. But that's not how it should work. It shouldn't work like, we're going to now try and justify it by trying to find some person in this island that could say whether he's seen the moon. So we work it. Yes, if somebody's seen it, alhamdulillah, we go with the universal, it's not a problem. Or we go with the regional, that's not a problem. Okay, so not to mix this debate with that debate.
There are some that say that the Saudis, they do actually just follow Ahmed Shakir's calculation.
Is it that they follow?
That's what they say, but they cover it with the so-called.
What fatwa of his?
Because he has this view that if it's born, then it
Yeah.
can be calculated, you can just take that.
Okay, and do you think they
That's
take
what
that?
I've been told.
I mean, I've read that they claim that there are actual every year 2 or 3 people from a particular
always are
region
3 people.
who always say, in Saudi Arabia, a particular region, who always claim that they've seen it, but they refuse to disclose their identity and disclose the procedure. And in fact,
Only or someone, you're gonna be someone.
it's like they're like, I'm not. They go, I'm not in it for the publicity. I've seen it, but no, my ajr lies with Allah. That's what. Right, so okay, na'am. Moving on. Got slightly distracted there.
We refer to this comment.
Right, so the thing is, Qamar and Badr and Hilal. Right, so the thing, right, where are we? Na'am. Well, Muharram Khamsa.
المحرم الخمسة صيام يوم الفطر ويوم الأضحى وصوم أيام التشريك الثلاثة بعده إلا للمتمتع وسهل إلى اليوم الرابع لمن نظر أو صام فيه كفارة وفي ذلك في اليومين قبله خلاف وصيام الحائض والنفساء حتى يراعى الطهر قبل الفجر وصيام الخائف على نفس الحلاك لأجل الصوم.
Right, na'am. Right, al-Muharram, the prohibited. And I think we'll end today's with that actually, and then pick it up since it's coming close to 9:30. Right, just a moment. Okay, so Muharram Khamsa, and that which is haram of 5. Siyam Yawm al-Fitr, Yawm al-Adha. Obviously, fasting the days of Eid is haram. Why is it haram, people?
Celebration, you can't celebrate without food.
Exactly.
Feast.
Because it's a day of feast. So it's a day to really be celebrating, to be chilling, to be enjoying in that sense. Not to be kind of all, no, I can't partake in this happiness by sharing your food and so on. I'm fasting. And this is why it's made haram. Okay. أيام التشريق الثلاثة بعده. So the 3 days of Tashriq after the day of Eid al-Adha, those days, although there is some debate about those 3 in essence, especially the 4th, the final of them. Some people have said, look, if you had a kafara or you had to do this, you could make it up on that day. But they're absolutely clear on the day of Eid, it is haram. And the general understanding is including the 3 days that come after Eid al-Adha. وصيام الحائض والنفساء حتى يري الطهر قبل الفجر. Now the thing is, that's also the woman from, or is it after postnatal bleeding or her menstrual bleeding, until she is certain of purity, it is forbidden for her to fast. وصيام الخائف على نفسه الحلاك لأجل الصوم. Anybody that thought by fasting he would kind of like destroy himself or herself, or at least, like maybe, even if they won't kill themselves, but they would at least suffer significantly. And I don't just mean suffering, I'm hungry suffering, but I mean like actual detrimental type of, that these people, it would be haram that they should actually not fast and make that up. Allah says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا, that do not kill yourselves, Allah is indeed merciful. So that takes us up to the conditions for the obligation of Ramadan, and we'll take a look at that, the conditions of obligation and validity and the sunan and the mustahabbat and makruhat, and we'll do that inshallah in the following lesson. Right. وسبحان الله وتعالى عما يصفون والصلاة والسلام على القائل الممنون المدينة خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.